Hey, I'm Martin Lopez, and welcome to Men's Breakthrough Hangout. So you know the drill, guys. You know the drill, man. This is what happens. This happens in life, and this happens all the time. Like something's going great, life's going great, everything's going great, and then bam, something happens, something crazy. And in life, something always happens, right? Now I'll tell you, my old knee-jerk reaction was always to like, what the and I got this from I used to say the bad word, but I just got this from my buddy David Corbin. He would say, "What the frappuccino?" Versus like, and so that's when we get upset. So we say, "What the frappuccino?" versus versus like what we want to say. What we want to do is we want to look at what's happening as an opportunity, right? As a hidden challenge that we may have missed, maybe a conflict that we could actually grow from, right? And this is what happens because we're human beings and we have this thing called reptilian reaction. It's like the reptile brain, and it just goes into that fight or flight mode. So that's the bad news. The bad news is that this reptilian reaction is automatic. You have no control over it because, well, basically, our whole communication process is run by this little peanut in our brains called the amygdala. And what happens is the job of the amygdala is always to look for danger. It's always going to look for danger. It's going to look for bad stuff. That's why we watch the news. That's why we watch bad news and we just can't stop watching the news, or we like gossip, or we like all those kinds of things. It's because of this amygdala, because of this little peanut we got in our head. So the thing is in any communication, doesn't matter if it's talking to your best friend or whatever, the first line of communication internally is going to be looking for a threat. It's looking for danger. That's the amygdala. It's just looking for danger. It could be your best friend, it could be my buddy David Corbin. He calls. The little brain's going to look for danger, but it happens so quick. I go, oh, that's not danger. That's David. Everything's cool, right? But tell you what, that little peanut is still looking on danger because it doesn't want David to say the wrong thing. It doesn't want me to say the wrong thing. It doesn't want my girlfriend, my wife, whatever, my friends, my clients, all those people to say the wrong thing. And that's how it works. But the good news is that we can, with a little bit of work, we can train our brains to see conflict, to see these things as an opportunity rather than a threat. And the impact of being able to do it is profound. So what happens is we go from what the frappuccino to oh my God, and we get to see really cool stuff. So I'm going to bring on the guy, the author of WTF to OMG. He wrote the blog. We were actually going to talk about something completely different. We had a whole other idea we are going to talk to, and I saw that blog, I read that blog, and I said, David, we got to talk about WTF to OMG. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great as anybody could be coming from their accountant, their tax attorney. But I'm heading on back from the tax attorney, and I'll be able to settle in there and sit down. But yeah, WTF to OMG. That's the concept is, stuff happens in life, right? And you say, what the farfignugan's going on here? Um, and then not too far down the future, you realize, OMG, that was a gift. That was a lesson, a transformation, and I didn't even realize it. And we LOL at ourselves because we almost missed it. And there's so many experiences in life. It could be the dissolution of a marriage, and you're like, what the fertilizer's going on here? And then after you go through your stuff, you realize, oh my God, I am liberated. I am free. I did not realize what, and it takes a while, but we LOL at ourselves for staying in a marriage too long or whatever. So yeah, so the book WTF to OMG with LOL. The subtitle is Unpacking Life's Hidden Lessons.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I read that. I read that. I read your blog. David, we were talking about doing a couple other things. I read your blog and I'm like, This is what the men need to hear. This is what us guys need to hear. We need to know how to unpack the hidden gems, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the essence of my mentoring, which is the essence of the consulting I've been doing for 4 decades, is get real. And it's, my early book, one of my earlier books, almost 20 years ago, is Illuminate, harnessing the positive power of negative thinking, which essentially says, and you know this, Martine, we can't solve everything we face, but we can't solve squat unless we face it.
Yeah.
And then I say, face it, follow it, and fix it. It could be anywhere from a bad business partnership, not just a bad life partnership. We need to face it, and instead of sweeping it under the carpet, bring it out. When you put shit under the carpet, it multiplies like mushrooms.
Oh, yeah.
But when you take it out into the daylight, daylight, the greatest disinfectant in life. Very often these problems are not as big as you think. Sometimes they're like vampires and they evaporate in the daylight, But the amount of energy it takes to repress, to deal with, to hold it down, that tension, very often turns out to be much more than actually dealing with it.
Yeah. Yeah. The fear of danger is worse off than the danger. There was a gal at the glider port, over in La Jolla, over in Torrey Pines.
Oh yeah,
There's this part where that part where you can stand over the cliff. It's kind of a little scary, right? So I was with my buddy Armando.
Oh my God.
We were taking pictures, and her girlfriends, they were looking at us, and you could just tell they wanted to do it, And I looked at her, I go, "Are you scared?" And she goes, "I'm so scared." I said, "I tell you that the thought of the fear you have is bigger than actually doing it." And she's like, "No, it's pretty scary." I said, "Trust me, the thought is scarier than actually doing it." And I said, "You trust me?" And she goes, "Yes." And she went out there and she would not just stop taking pictures. She was so excited about herself. And that's how it mostly is. Now, the thing is, David, is sometimes it is terrible. Sometimes it is really bad and really tough. But when you face it, at least you're in the game, right?
Yeah, it takes some energy, but yeah, when you face it, what happens is when you do, most of the scariest shit in life is that which we are most proud of for conquering, right?
Yeah.
And when you face it, when you actually illuminate it, face it, what is it? Where's it? And then follow it. Where's it coming from? What's holding it in place? What happens in the future if I don't deal with it? When that's the follow it component. Then when you do that, you're often motivated to do the fix. Either fix it or minimize the power that it's exerting over you. That's the Illuminate model. And at Secret Knock, I remember telling the story about it. I was hired by a company to help them to illuminate. They made me the chief illumination officer for a while, And,
CIO.
And exactly. And so the name of the company I can't tell you, but it rhymes with Schmamino's Pizza, and it was their corporate offices, and they needed to illuminate the fact that their profits were not sufficient, and they were moving into a round of taking the company public. This is going back a while, and so we looked at it, and I said, "Well, let's illuminate this." Well, what do you mean illuminate it? Well, let's peel back the layers and get real about it. Why are your profits so low? And what we found is because people were just buying their leader. They'd see something in a newspaper, and so we followed it, right? After the face it, we're not going to be able to, to sustain our business on this profits. We followed it and found out that about 70% of Americans don't know what they're having for dinner by 4:30 p.m. And so they thought they were in the fast food business, when indeed they were in the crisis intervention business.
I love it. Yeah.
Right? So we just followed it and we went into the fix. What's the fix? Well, train your people instead of, when you call crisis intervention and they say, hold please, that's not a good thing, right? You dial 911 and they say, hold please.
So you're number 20.
Right. So we train their people to be like crisis intervention. Typically they call up and go, listen, I got 2 kids, my neighbor's kid, my wife's coming home. What do I buy? And they go, hold please. Or they'll go, well, what do you want? It's like, so we trained them in crisis intervention to say, no problem. What you'll need is a package 2 with 2 round discs of cardboard and fake cheese and ketchup eaten and some big sugar water to get those little sons of bitches bouncing off the wall. And they go, that's exactly what I need. That's
Right.
So we and their share things went crazy because we illuminated, we faced it. We got to do something about this. The profits and why they're not buying would follow it. They don't know what they're having by 4:30. It's really crisis intervention instead of fast food. Fix it, train your people. What are we not illuminating in our lives, in our relationships with others, and our relationships with ourselves?
Yeah.
So when you ask yourself, hey, what am I missing? And if you don't know what you're missing, talk to your pals. They'll tell you exactly what you're missing.
That's right.
Because they're honest and they're real. And as our friend Greg often talks about in the mentoring I've been doing with him over the years, he says, David will tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And that's lovingly getting real.
Yeah.
Having the care and the concern to tell your brother or your friend, dude, you got a big booger hanging from your goddamn nose, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, your breath stinks, or, I notice when you're talking to people, you're putting them down, or I notice that you're dominating the conversation a lot. What's up with that? Or I notice you're getting whooped by people and you're just taking it, caring enough to say, which is essentially saying, I love you. I care enough to be real with you, as uncomfortable as it might feel. I care enough to get real with you. If we had more brotherhood, if we had more, that would help us to get real with our business, with our reputation, with our activities, even with our hygiene, for crying out loud.
Sure.
We say illuminate the negative in a positive light. You don't go up to someone and say, Martine, you ignorant slut. It's like,
unless we're in a movie.
It's like, Martine, my brother, I want to share something with you. If there's something I observed about you that I think could help you, that you might not be aware of, is that something you'd want to know, brother?
Yeah.
Now, if you say no, okay, I'd be surprised. But if you said no, I'd go, okay, man. So like, when you're ready, hit me up, man. I'm here for you. If they say yes, you say, well, congratulations, because that's a sign of greatness. Can we talk? And boom, you connect. And, I'm a mentor. I get paid money to mentor people, but we're mentoring our friends and right and left,
all the time. Our children, our spouses.
Yeah. So anyway, it's about get real. It's about loving people enough, giving a shit enough to take. We have a friend, I won't tell you who it is, but you and I have a friend in common, and he was kind of blowing it. He was kind of really kind of using people. And some of our friends are going, I feel used and blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to talk. I said, I care enough about this person to pull him aside. So I took him to lunch, and I said exactly what I said. I said, dude, if there's some shit that might be going down where you might not realize it, and you're kind of messing with your rep and your brand, is that something that you'd want to hear from me and talk about? He goes, yeah. And I said, man, I love you. Let's talk. And we did. We went to lunch, but there was a touch of defensiveness, which I understand. and I would back it off, turn the throttle down a little bit, get back into connection rapport, and then went back into it, and it ended with me feeling satisfied that he heard me and that I shared lovingly with someone. So I personally, because my heart was beating a little bit, man. I
Yeah,
had a little
yeah.
bit of a
Yeah,
little
you're bringing up something that's
discomfort.
personal for somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because if not done right, it could blow up. They
yeah,
can get defensive, angry, and hurt. I could be like, well, dude, I'm just trying to freaking help you to help you.
yeah.
None of that, So afterwards, I felt good. He felt good, and I noticed some behavioral shifts, and life is and buddies who talked to me about him said, but I want to remain anonymous. Right? They didn't want to, and that's cool.
And that's totally cool. Yeah, yeah,
It's more important to me to help someone who's doing good work in this world, to help, because I would hope that you, Martine, and others, if I'm messing up or whatever, that they pull me aside. And it's kind of funny. I just got to say is that I invented a product, and it's doing really well. It's called the Rejuvenation Station. It's in every hospital in New York, and we just did a trade show this week in Los Angeles. Um, it's called the Healthcare Burnout Symposium. It's like unbelievable because
wow.
doctors are one of the highest suicide rates in the country, and nurses, 83% of them say that they feel totally stressed out and burned out.
Wow.
We have a very sick system. So
We do. Yeah, yeah.
while we're there, one of my business partners, who's an Emmy award-winning music scoring dude and all, he told me he belongs to an organization, and he got a letter from the head of the organization, and you know who the head of the organization, I will say, and it was talking about how he's constantly looking for attention. If there's a Q&A, he's always in there doing the Q&A. And so the head shared it with him, and it hurt him deeply. Deeply, it hurt. It hurts when people share some information like this, when they illuminate. It hurts. Even if it's done nicely, it still hurts. And he took that hurt, that WTF, right? WTF, why are they being so mean, into the OMG, wow, I would continue to be behaving this way, which is not helping me or anyone else.
Yeah.
And thank goodness someone had the character, the courage, the chutzpah to say, yo, dude. And then he accepted. This just happened the other day.
Which is also courageous, right? Which is also character and
man.
courageous. It's not easy when someone's telling you like, you're a schmuck or you're effing up or something, right? That's not
exactly
easy.
right.
Yeah.
That's
I like
exactly
it. You fix it, you follow it.
Face it, follow it, and fix it.
You go ahead and walk, and I'm going to talk. You walk, and I'll talk.
Yeah,
what I love is that we can that men need to do this. Like I think that's the thing we're finding out is that when you get the women folk together, they will talk about all kinds, and they'll do this but us men, we need to spend more time. We need to spend more time as guys. I'm gonna remove him for a minute as he's getting resettled in. Guys, we need to be there for each other. And just exactly the way that David was saying, curiously, coming, having conversations with other men in a way that you can understand that what I'm going to say is going to illuminate something. What I'm going to say could hurt you, but are you okay with me talking about that? Get permission to, rather than like just jumping and say, like you said, you're just a jerk and nobody likes you and you take advantage of people. That's just, when we talked about the amygdala at the beginning, the amygdala is going to kick in and it's going to fight back. And because the only way that amygdala is going to work, or it's going to say danger, danger. Now you're going to be in a reptilian mode and you're dealing with fight, flight, or freeze, right?
Yeah. It's fight, there's flight, there's freeze, and there's work it out.
That's right. The W is the best one.
I think the evolved individual, what I've found, Martine, is catch yourself.
Yeah.
Awareness is key. We don't know when we're tapped deep into that autonomic nervous system. We don't know when we're tapped into the reptilian brain. We don't know that until we do. So sometimes it takes others to say, yo, dude, let me share with you. True wisdom, I've found, is through personal awareness, checking in with ourselves from time to time. How am I feeling? I just left a client this morning I'm mentoring. They have a medical spa. Lots of doctors, they do hyperbaric, stem cells, they do the whole 9 yards. And I've trained them in their intake to ask the patient who's coming in for a procedure, sit down with them and ask them, so tell me, how are you feeling in your body right now? And we used to do this because I was the head of a big massage college that did an associate, a bachelor's, and a master's degree in touch therapy. And I learned that from them. How are you feeling in your body right now? Most people are not aware of that. Most of us, hold on, I got a jet going overhead. Most of us are not aware of how we're feeling and where our feelings are coming from.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Wisdom happens when you stay in touch. And that happens with meditation in the morning, checking in on yourself. How am I feeling? What's the origin of that?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, when you stay awake, aware, alert, alive, and vibrant, you can then choose fight, flight, or work it out. You could recognize, I'm feeling I'm going into my autonomic nervous system. I'm feeling it, man. I'm ready to boom, catch it, breathe it, become a lightning rod. When shit goes down and people throw something at you, become a lightning rod. Lightning hits the barn, the barn burns. Lightning hits the lightning rod, it goes down, it's grounded, and the barn lives to fight another day. We're the same way.
Yeah.
If we can catch our emotions, allow it to go grounded, you don't have to punch anybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Fight, flight, or work it out, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be that lightning rod.
Yeah, be the lightning rod. So I like it. Like, so the face it is the awareness in the illumination, like illuminate. It's like face it is awareness. Like, be aware, face it. Like, just touch it, smell it, taste it. Like, what's going on here? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's stay awake and alive. And that's why I tell people, clients, I say, look, set your calendar every X amount of days and ask yourself, what am I missing? What might I be missing? And so when you go through that, you do an audit of, and you say, well, let me just think here, and then you catch something, and then you work on it. So it's always continuous improvement process is by definition its first name, freaking continuous.
Yeah. Always
learning.
Always.
You may have seen my TED talk. I talked about how I was backstage at Woodstock, and this guy said to me, like he knew me, he had this big hippie hairdo afro thing, and he goes, man, like you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting, but you're never standing still. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
That's a wise word, though.
I just turned 17 years old, and I didn't know what this freaking guy was talking about, but I do now. It is the essence of Six Sigma and TQM, total quality management. Yeah. It's the essence of that. We need to and so with Illuminate, you consistently open up.
No, I'm jealous. Look at
that. With Illuminate, you consistently ask yourself, where am I green and growing, and where might I be ripe and rotting? And then when you do that, you are the most attractive friend, consultant, mentor, advisor, entrepreneur, employee, employer, because you're always getting better.
I love that. Let's take that to a relationship. I talk to a lot of guys that are in the middle of a divorce, and they're like, man, I still love my wife. I'd like to work it out. I don't know. She's pissed off at me. She's angry with me, all that. And I'm hearing what you're saying is exactly the same thing. And I hear what, because it's business, but I think business and family life's the same thing. Like, you got a brand, you've created a brand. Like, you're a guy that yells at your kids. You're a guy that fights with your wife. That's your brand. That's how people look at you. And it's time to change that brand, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that
Yeah.
because you, as you know, I wrote the book Preventing Brand Slaughter. I wrote the book
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Illuminated
exactly.
Brand.
Yeah.
In a relationship, imagine if you can do this. In my TED talk, I handed out fake LSD, and 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 I said, take this. Now that you're tripping, you're going to understand what I'm going to be dropping down for you. You're going to pick it up, and here's what it is. I talked about business, but I'm going to relate it to relationships. If you were tripping, and if your relationship, not the one you're having a relationship with, not a spouse, a husband, or whatever, but if the relationship had a voice, right? So there's the I, the me, and the we. If
Yes.
the relationship had a voice, and you could ask it a question, and because you're tripping, you could hear it answer you. You would ask the relationship, "What do you need from me? What do you need me to do in this relationship? What are the core competencies of being in a relationship?
Mm,
And who do you need me to be? What are the qualities and characteristics you need me to bring to this relationship so this mofo relationship is awesome?" Now,
yeah.
because you're tripping, it's going to tell you, and you could hear it. You need to do this, do this, do this. You need to be this, be this, be this, be this. And then, because you're tripping, you get naked. Not naked of clothes. You don't strip yourself of clothes, but you strip yourself of ego.
Yeah.
And you rate yourself on every one of those core functions and qualities and characteristics. You rate yourself honestly, stripped of ego, on your ability to deliver to that which that thing called the relationship is asking for.
Yes.
10 means you could bring it. 1 means you suck.
Face it.
And 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 then you need to face it, follow it, and fix it. And say, if I'm a 3, what assets do I need to become a 6?
Yeah.
And then in these different respective areas, and you work to close those freaking gaps. What assets? Well, one asset might be my buddy's really good at that. Call him up. Jose, come here, man. You're really good at blah, blah, blah. How do you do that shit? He goes, oh, well, I wasn't always good at it, but I learned da 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 da. And now that's brother helping brother to close the gap. You see, closing the gap requires assets of relationships or books or tapes or seminars or whatever, and you close the gap. And what's happening is you're building yourself to be able to deliver to that thing called a relationship. And
Yeah.
when you close those gaps, I can tell you, man, been there. When you close those gaps, up goes your competence in a relationship, which then brings your confidence up in the relationship. And that confidence further brings up your competence. And before long, you're going up the eensy beensy spider, but not up the spider, the water spout,
Out the water
this,
spout.
but you're going up the spout to relational fulfillment,
Yeah.
connection, satisfaction, a rich relationship, which I'm going to boast right now, but if it's true, you're not bragging. I am blessed with a remarkable, you've seen, a
Yeah.
remarkable relationship with my beloved. She's my queen. She's my beloved. Ain't much better than that. Well, the relationship with yourself first. I look at it this way. I go like 1, 2, 3,
Nice.
right? So I can't give away what I don't have. So the relationship with the divine, my relationship with myself, is critically important. Then and only then can I attract a queen, a goddess, such as I have with my Anne.
I love that. I love that. I love the truth of that. Man, I often have so many questions, but what you're saying is so complete in how you're putting it. It's hard for me to ask a question about what you're saying. So I'm gonna actually I'm gonna let's go in this other direction here. So you talked about the confidence and you talked about how it builds and stuff. And one of the things, oh, he just bounced off. He probably hit the button. So I'm gonna wait till he comes right back. Wow, what a great show. Like is David a rock star or what? I'm just gonna be here any second. So I love what he's talking about. So we're live with David Corbin and we're gonna ask him, we're gonna bring another topic. There you are, my brother. So there's a concept that I discovered, and I was looking at my own evolution, how I evolved, coming out of a tough situation. Now my marriage wasn't a bad marriage. I just needed to get divorced. I just wanted to move on, you know. So, but when I left my marriage, I found myself really depressed. And after I worked through the depression that I had, I found myself sad. After I found myself, moving through the sadness, I found myself angry. Then I found myself afraid. And then I realized that all those things came from self doubt. Like I doubted myself. But I only doubted myself because I was up to something. Like we don't have to doubt ourselves as people if we're not up to anything, because what's there to doubt? If you don't want to have a great life, or if you don't want to go and live your life on the edge, then what's there to doubt, because you're not up to anything. And
What does up to mean? Help me with that. What is up to something?
so
What does that mean?
so I'm saying up to, like, I want to live my life where I feel fulfilled, or where I'm doing what I want to do. I pushing my, get my book out there, leading workshops, doing those kind of things. Now, if I didn't have, though, like, something I was up to, there would be nothing to doubt. It's when I put something on the line that doubt shows up. And what I found, and you said the word confidence, and I just want your take on this, is what I found with the word confidence is I realized that word was a key, because what I would do is I would confide. And when I was confiding, I gathered information. That information that I gathered built my confidence, because I knew a little bit more.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I mean, you're going up the ancient beans of spider, man. Is it? It just builds.
Yeah.
It just builds that way. I watched you. I watched you. I watched you, my brother, as you were going through a lot of this stuff. The OMG that I saw about you was you took control of your life, yourself, your health, your welfare, your energy. You're running freaking marathon. What's wrong with this man? You're you're not losing weight. You're releasing it. See, if I
Yeah.
lose my keys on my cell phone, I look all over for that shit. But you released it, right?
Yes,
You let
absolutely.
it go, and so yeah. So you're a walking example of of continuous improvement, of taking of waking up to certain things, making decisions, closing gaps. I weigh this much. I want to weigh that much. Close the gap. I'm sedentary versus active. Close the gap. On and on and on. It's a beautiful thing. You have the ability to talk about this, right? You have the ability to talk about this, um, because there's authenticity there. I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt. It's
Yeah.
just again, if it's true, it ain't bragging. So you sort of done good on this. I would hope that if anybody who's watching this is engaged in the dissolution of a relationship, be it a love relationship, um, or a business
Yeah.
relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that they listen and listen carefully, um, to the idea of facing it, follow it, and fixing it, and everything that you said before that. To listen carefully, to recognize and waking up, not falling asleep at the wheel of life, and catch yourself, observe yourself. Wonderful book, um, and podcast by Michael Singer,
Yeah.
where
Michael. Yeah.
yeah, and he teaches the untethered soul is observe, like, who's thinking inside your head. Observe the thinker, right? Observe the thinker. In my meditation this morning, one of my business partners created this beautiful music with 40 cycles on the bottom and binaural beats, and I was kind of tripping into it, man. It was just incredible. It's just 15 minutes, and I heard myself talking inside. And then I observed that voice inside my head. Who is that? It's a trip, man. It's very much like a DMT experience, the 5-MeO DMT experience, which
Uh,
I did down in Mexico at a medical clinic over Thanksgiving. It's observe the thinker inside your head. So when you're going through this shit, all these negative tapes come up.
yeah.
It could be, she sucks, I'm good, uh, or I'm not good enough, or oh my God, if I leave this relationship, I'll be alone for the rest of my life. All observe who's thinking that.
Who's that? Who's
So
talking that? Yeah.
observe that. I found
Noticing observer.
there was this inside of me, like what's his name, Eckhart Tolle talks
Yeah.
about in his wonderful books, that there's a pain body inside, and that son of a gun wakes up anytime there's something negative. It wakes up and goes, "Oh, that was delicious. I think I'll look around.
Loves it.
I gotta look around for some more negative stuff."
That's right.
And you take that out. And you look at it and say, I know what you're doing and I know who you are. You take out your cigar lighter and you just burn it with that blue flame and throw it on the floor. And all of a sudden, like, you feel relieved. I used to be a psychotherapist and now I'm just a psycho, but these techniques work.
Yeah, they
These
do.
techniques work. Observe yourself and ask yourself, where's the evidence that that's true? Who's thinking this? You know, when I do my mentoring, and I mentor some really cool cats,
They do.
and I've got a 6 month mentoring program I do, a 12-month mentoring program I do, and they fly in, they come in, they live, they stay at the. I don't know if you could see back on the other side of the pool there. There's
And
a
yeah,
cottage back there, so they stay in the cottage overnight, and then I work with them full day, all day, and we do that once a month for X amount of months or X amount of months over a year. And invariably, we want to talk about business. They want to talk about business, and we do. Business is so easy. But when we talk about what's holding them back,
yeah,
these patterns that they've accepted to be true, the programming in this incredible computer, and we source it. Where did you learn that? Usually mom or dad. And how did that impact your life? That you could, oh my God, and you bash it, and you get angry at them, you anger at yourself, and then you forgive everyone because mom and dad did the best they could with what they had.
absolutely.
And where'd they learn it from? Their parents. So you you you
Be
you
better, grandma.
so you bash it, you replace it, and you move on. And I very often send my clients, I'll work with them to a degree, but I'll send them to the Hoffman Institute up in Napa area
Yeah,
or out in Connecticut, and it's transformational. But we don't necessarily have to go to these centers. We can just ask ourselves, where's the evidence? What tapes am I running? What patterns are ruling my life? And you see, oh my God, that's been going on since I was a child, putting other people's needs before my own, not willing to express my own because I'm afraid that they might reject me or
yeah,
or whatever. I see those early childhood admonitions playing out so often in people, and the serious individual who wants to go into a good, solid relationship with themselves, with others, takes the courageous action to identify some of the patterns that they're playing, that are driving their thoughts and their behaviors. It's tough enough that we got people hacking us right and left,
yes,
right? But we're hacking. It's a negative. We complain that the Russians hacked our elections and stuff, but no one's talking about the fact that avaricious marketers driven with artificial intelligence, who know us better than we know ourselves,
yeah,
are not predicting our behavior. They're freaking driving our behavior. And my rant is, if you're not hacking yourself to your highest good, beliefs, etc., then you're turning over the keys to your kingdom to others because they're hacking us on every commercial, fast food, pharma, and the like. We must be hacking ourselves to our beliefs, our values, our wants, our needs, our deep love for self and others. What separates us from pig and sheep is our free will. We're losing our free will because, as I say, artificial intelligence knows us better than we know ourselves.
So we have to go get what we can. We need to go get whatever part we can back and take control. Get back control of the wheel as
That's
much as
where, tripping on fake acid and asking yourself these questions and listening and getting serious about closing gaps, that's taking control, baby.
absolutely. Meditation, all those kinds of things. One of my mentors, name's Brian Johnson. He says that we'll never be exonerated. He said, but people think that like they're working their process, expecting to at some point not have to work anymore. And the problem is that life is always going to have pain. It's always going to have uncertainty, and it's going to require hard work, and that's life.
Well, yeah, I mean, personal growth and development is worthy, noble, quote unquote, hard work. Um, like I don't work hard. I create businesses. I live my life. I vacation. I mentor. Um, I speak. I write books. And none of that is hard work because I love it and because it fills me and it lights me up.
Yes.
So it's not really hard. Now, I'm a stoic, very much a stoic. I'm a realist. But I don't think that the good Lord wants me to be working my ass off on anything other than being a good man, being a transformative, growing, expanding individual, not just in the waistline, and to give love and serve others.
I love that.
That's why I think I was put here. There's a term I learned recently at a conference. It's ikigachi. I don't know what it's a Japanese term.
Ikigai.
Ikigai. Oh my God, I never
Yeah.
knew what that was.
Yeah.
I immediately, while I'm in the audience, I bought the book
Yeah.
and I've got it staged in my reading. It's sitting right there, and I'm trying to pick up that book. I'm like, no, 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 finish this book, finish that book. Eat your vegetables before dessert.
Absolutely. Listen, we got to bounce. David, I am so grateful for this call. I actually have to get up to coaching. I got somebody I'm coaching up in Del Mar. I got to get up there. So, and I got about 15 minutes to get there. I could talk to you forever. I love you to death. The wisdom that you brought here, this is what I love about the men's breakthrough hangout is, I have an idea about something. We all us men have ideas about something, but if we're willing to listen to another man, another person, another wisdom from another person, and we're willing to apply that to what we got and look at it and be grateful for it, that just creates growth in ourselves. So
Yeah, baby.
I started at 3:00. It's 3:43. I'm leaving a better man than I started, and I'm grateful for you, my brother.
All right, peace out. I'm gonna finish this cigar and go in and see my bride.
I love it. I love you. Give her my love, brother.
All right, you got it. See you soon.
Look forward to it. Take care. See you guys
All
all
right.
next week on, what do we call this? We call this Men's Breakthrough.